Hi, this is Tutor and this is quote 112. The quote today is by Milton Friedman. He was an American economist and a Nobel Prize winner, for economics. All right, and here is his quote. Quote is actually pretty short. Inflation is taxation without legislation. Okay, so let's take a look at the note here. Most people understand inflation as a progressive increase in prices. Yeah, so people have a general idea about inflation. They know that prices going up is inflation. And if you look in the regular dictionary, it does mention that. However, if you look in a business dictionary, it's slightly different. Most business dictionaries list inflation as an increase in the amount of money in an economy in regard to goods and services. Well, this kind of helps to explain why inflation comes about. I don't think the average person really realizes why we get it. They know when inflation hits them, they know when the prices go up in the store, but a lot of them don't really quite realize what causes the inflation. Okay, so let's continue with the note here. When central banks print more money, even though, to be honest, nowadays they don't really even print more money. They just push buttons to create more money. And most people also don't realize that they don't actually have the money to back up that they're creating. Once you investigate into this, you find out that they print it out of thin air. They print it from nothing. If you did this, or I did this, or any average person did this, this would be illegal. You'd be called counterfeiter. But they do it, and then they lend it to the government, and then the government has to pay them back plus interest. It's a good system for them, anyway. They increase the money supply, and in turn, each dollar becomes worth less money. Yeah, it's the same idea as supply and demand. When there's a real large supply of something, and the demand does not increase, the price actually goes down. So the value of each dollar goes down, and that's what ends up leading to your inflation. Now, the day they do it, you don't notice it. I think they say it usually takes about 5 or 6 months to work its way into the economy every time they print more money. And then that's when you end up seeing the prices increase. Okay, so people end up losing buying power because each dollar is worth less the more they print. All right. So indirectly, it ends up being a tax on the people without them realizing it because they don't see more taxes taken out of their paycheck. So indirectly it ends up being a tax. You don't see it come out of your paycheck, but you know that you're the same. For example, like $100 is not buying as many groceries as it used to buy a year ago, or several years ago, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. It keeps shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and indirectly it is a tax that ends up going back to the central bank. And most people don't realize it because the legislators themselves did not actually vote for the tax. So that's why he's saying inflation is taxation without legislators. Your congressmen, your senators didn't directly vote for this. Even though you probably could argue that they did vote, that sometimes they vote for a budget, and they vote for a budget where we really don't have all the money to cover all their spending. And I guess they know the money's got to come from somewhere, but if it ends up coming from the central bank and they print more money, indirectly, it ends up being a tax. That's what Milton Friedman is trying to let you know. Without realizing it. Okay, let's continue. Legislators can pretend to be blameless. Yeah, they almost prefer it this way, because if they're the ones that raise the tax, then you will probably say, you terrible, you did this, because they didn't directly raise taxes. This is what Milton Friedman is trying to tell you. So, anyway, I hope you got it. I hope it was informative. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.